one chapter today, and that would be The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. And I think probably for a lot of us, we're feeling a lot like Harry right now. Which is, what the f- Really? Not what you're expecting. I mean, you're expecting it the second time you read through, but you're not expecting it the first time reading through to suddenly be like, wait, no, you were friends with Grindelwald? Wait, no, you were, what? And like that letter is very damning. Because of course, most of what we're actually seeing, like most of that writing, I agree with Hermione, it's Rita Skeeter. And she's, I wouldn't mind calling her a few rude words. And you can see that in how she addresses people within her text. Like, she calls Dodge dog breath, like, constantly. And she calls Bathilda, like, batty. And I have a bit of an issue with the fact that she uses truth serum without Bathilda, like, consenting to it and being aware of it. Like, that's what that note is on the top of that book. Now, that is saying that Rita Skeeter took what she wanted, and then, like, that's not okay. Pretty much everything we're seeing in this chapter is not okay. Because it's wrong to invade privacy in that way. Like, that is a real issue. We've had issues with it before, with Umbridge using it. So again, to condemn one side of things, you certainly have to condemn the other side of things. Because I think, like, some people want to make an argument about the ability to, like, free speech and journalism, and that these are things that need to get out. And I can see that side of the argument, but to basically drug somebody without their consent, without proper, like, even if you do say, okay, it's used by, like, law enforcement, you need proper oversight, that's been ignored. Like, this is a very slimy way of doing things. And in moments like this, where you want the truth, you have to sort of, again, try and stay above it all. If you want to get your point across, you need to stay above the tactics of people lower down who are willing to lie, cheat, and steal. Whether that's in journalism or in issues of questions of child abuse. Like, you want to stay above, and you want to prove it in the right ways so that you can't have people question your methods, but instead look at the facts you've presented them. And with Rita Skeeter, that doesn't happen, like, at all. So we're looking at issues on both sides of things. Is Rita Skeeter in the right for doing this? And also, are there issues of child abuse and issues of terrorism in this friendship with Grindelwald that Albus has? Issues all around. So I don't think Rita has done, again, the tendency to keep herself above so that the facts go undisputed. I think you can make arguments. Hermione tries to make arguments. Harry, again, is sort of, everything's been crumbling up to this point that his trust in Dumbledore, again, everything's got to get stripped away. So his trust in Dumbledore is, like, gone. And again, I certainly think we could see reasons for it. Like I said, the letter we have is very damning. Additionally, with the information that Hermione gives us, which is for the greater good, became Grindelwald's slogan in his actions in Europe. So I'm going to read out the letter, just so we can all sort of remember it. Gellert, your point about wizard dominance being for the Muggles' own good. This, I think, is the crucial point. Yes, we have been given power, and yes, that power gives us the right to rule, but also gives us responsibilities over the ruled. We must stress this point. It will be the foundation stone upon which we build. Where we are opposed, as we surely will be, this must be the basis of all our counter-arguments. We seize control for the greater good, and for this it follows that where we meet resistance we must use only the force that is necessary and no more. In brackets, this was your mistake at Durmstrang, but I do not complain, because if you had not been expelled, we would never have met. And bracket, Albus. Again, we can look at this and recognize, nope. Like Hermione points out, the greater good became Grindelwald's tendency, and he even put it carved over the entrance of Nurmengard. And we can very directly see some connections to concentration camps in that regards. She also goes down to, I'm not trying to defend what Dumbledore wrote, said Hermione. All that right to rule rubbish, it's magic is might, all over again. And that's true. We are seeing this repetition of a thought process. And this is where I run into some really terrifying things. I'm not sure how well you can see, but my bed is currently covered in my homework. And in fact, I've got another one right here. And just books and books and books on philosophy that a lot of them say something very similar. This thought process of judging one group above another, like I said in that video about the Muggle-born Registry Commission, like it's present. It's frickin' everywhere. Aristotle. I actually got into I wouldn't call it an argument or a fight, a discussion, moving towards the heat of an argument, in which we were talking about the canon of philosophy. And some of the other students were saying, well, there's got to be a point where, yes, we can deny entrance to philosophy to certain thinkers because we are trying to reach a universal agreement. And my question was, cool, so when are we kicking out Aristotle? And that's probably going to sound really weird, because Aristotle, again, is one of those quintessential philosophers, and his approach to things, very intelligent, but he is notorious for being wrong about practically everything. In a lot of ways, we have started not reading Aristotle because we don't read his stuff in biology anymore, because that's... But we do read a lot of other things on Aristotle. And it's not like I hate Aristotle. There are certain parts of him that I actually like, and I'm aiming to use him in my thesis, which is going to be about Harry Potter, if I can get away with that, which I'm planning on getting away with. But then you read something like his Politics, which starts off with a very coherent discussion of natural slavery. No. And we know that now. we can trace that through, because we certainly have had slavery. But if you look through a lot of our philosophers, like, they make very coherent arguments for the exclusion of certain groups of people, the focus on other groups of people, the need to control people, how the government needs to crack down on people for their own good. And a lot of this is in fact couched in both terms of, well, the people consented to it anyways, and it's for their own good. I mean, you can trace things like that through practically all of philosophy canon in one way or the other. It could be based on race. Like, straight up, the Declaration of Independence was originally supposed to be the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, but that property term was switched into happiness because property at that point in time included people. But that term is directly brought out of Locke. And Locke says that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. And the government should protect our property. And property at the term included people. Again, you have things like Hobbes, who puts together this massive Leviathan that basically has the right to... The only thing he doesn't have the right to do directly is kill you with your consent. I mean, he could still kill you, but you have the right to try and run away. Like, that's how it works. Rousseau argues for literally, like, when you have your group of people, you need to give them a religion, and then you need to make sure they stick to that religion. No other religions. Religion tolerance is stupid, and anybody else who disagrees with that religion, you kick the frick out. Through literally, and I keep looking this way because I'm literally looking at all my books up there, a lot of which are my philosophy books. Through the entire history of philosophy, we are looking at arguments that Grindelwald and Dumbledore are discussing. So, I think again, we need to take a really serious look at ourselves and a really serious look at Dumbledore and Grindelwald in regards to this. Because I think what can be argued is privilege. Albus and Gellert are discussing things like this because they are in privileged positions. They are both educated. They have places that they can go and live. They are both very magically powerful. They both have some sort of reputation, whether it's on one side or the other. They're very privileged. And in all likelihood, Albus is considering this a discussion, which, particularly in universities, but other places as well, that's usually considered okay. Like, we can sit down and discuss this out and figure this all out. And that's okay, is what they're thinking, because they're in a privileged position. And I sort of had to face this down too, because I am guilty of this, which is this tendency to act like I can get into a discussion of something like Aristotle's version of slavery and just discuss it out like it is just theoretical. It is this tendency to take all of this and say, well, it's just a theory, so let's look at what the theory... Because I'm in a privileged position, just like these two are. the issue we're running into is the fact that it's not just theory. Like, Grindelwald goes and tries to put this into practice. And a lot of our philosophy, again, people have put into practice. And they've used philosophy and biology and sociology and anthropology and I'm probably sure maybe even mathematics at some point to justify major inequalities in the world and terrible acts against humanity and the removal of liberties and the possession of people as property. Because a lot of those people, again, who are reading the philosophy and are studying these things are in the privileged position where they're not the person that's being judged, not a person. And they're not the person getting kicked out. And they're not the person getting enslaved. So yes, this is all a theory and we can talk about it. Except for the people where it's not a theory and it's an issue of life and death and oh my freaking god. And that's what Harry's running into in this moment. Harry's looking at that going, don't say it's because they're young. Because they're the same age, they were the same age that we are now. And we're fighting a war against this. He's no longer in that privileged position of, yes, we could talk about this like it's a theory. Because it's not. This has been put into practice and it's killing people. Hermione, again, having been in a privileged position of discussing all these things like a theory, is struggling with that issue because she's seeing, again, both sides. She's seeing the fact that they were in a privileged position and they were discussing these things, and Albus likely never considered the possibility of putting it into practice. Grindelwald did. And Albus figured things out. They haven't figured when he figured things out, because they don't know about the duel in which Ariana dies yet. But Albus had a change of heart, because Albus came down off his, sort of had his ankles cut out from under him, from out of a privileged position. And it's this recognition of, oh my god, this isn't theory, this is practice, and I'm gonna get people killed. And he changes his way of thinking. And that's a positive thing. That is something we should be acknowledging. That is someone who recognized his privilege and aimed to start using his privilege to change things for the better. And that's a positive thing. So I think we should keep that in mind in this moment where we're looking at Dumbledore like, ah! Because there is going to have to be a point where we let his past mistakes go and recognize him for what he did effectively in the world. And I think that's this moment. Albus was privileged. He thought he could talk about this and it would just be talk. He found out it wasn't, and he changed what he was doing. Grindelwald, in his privileged position, decided to attempt to put this into practice, and did horrible things. We're seeing the same thing with Voldemort. Tom. It's also something that we really need to consider with our own philosophical canon. Because a lot of us want to say, well, this is just things we could talk about because it's all theory. We need to keep in mind that for people that are not in privileged positions, this is not theory. This is cultural death. This is language death. This is actual death. So, we just need to keep that in mind. Just like Harry here going, we're the same age and we're fighting against this, you need to keep in mind there are people our age who are fighting against some things that, hey, maybe we just want to chat about in a theoretical style. It's always something that we have to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you do too. See you next time.